Well, it's time to continue the self-portrait adventure, which I have been holding off for quite some time and doing some other paintings and trials meanwhile, and well, basically not painting that much after my day job anyway either. But to keep me motivated, I wanted to start with the face, because that's a bit of a make or break it situation. If I F it up, then the whole painting is basically screwed. So I wanted to start there, even if it's a bit maybe, well, not that intimidating, but it's quite the focal point or the most important part, and a bit maybe more interesting to paint as well than just the hands. So I wanted to start off the session with the face, and then see when or whether to continue right away with the hands or then continue with the next day. But that was my plan, to continue next with the hands after I have finished off the face details for now. So I'm adding a bit of the shadow areas, a bit more shading to the face, and then also the darkest darks, refining the edges around when the hands are touching the face, and also the details in the eyes. So that's the first step that I'm doing here. And well, of course, regarding whether I will be messing up the painting or not, then of course I could be also switching over to gouache and then fix the painting with that, so I could use more opaque colors, but then that will impact quite heavily on the overall look, so then the hands would be quite off. So I would then have to be redoing most areas, so it won't look so odd with the more opaque and thicker layered facial area. But everything went fine, so I didn't have to jump over to gouache at this point, and I don't think I will be using gouache anywhere unless I have to bring out some lighter areas or the highlights back somewhere. I gotta say that I'm quite happy with the portrait so far, and hopefully also the end result will be nice, but also at the same time, it's a bit bigger paper or bigger painting, more time consuming painting that I have done for quite some time. So I suppose that's been one of the reasons as well why I just couldn't get to start painting this. But now I took the time this week to continue painting this portrait, so with the face, as mentioned, a bit more interesting part, and then doing the hard work with the hands, refining some of the edges and adding more the darker darks and a bit more shadows, but not that much, because mostly I want to be then refining the edge areas with then the background that I will be adding, which will be then a very dark color, so I have to be careful around the edges so I don't make any finger or head area of the portrait hands smaller or go overlapping with the areas. So that will be then the biggest part then after the hand details or the details with the portrait. I will be doing the hands next, so all of the hand details at least to some level, adding the wrinkles and veins. I don't think I will be adding much of shadows, because they can be kind of mostly in the lights as well. They can stay quite light, but I want to just refine some of the edges. They were quite shoddy originally when I did the first layers, so I need to clean up a bit. I wasn't that careful initially. And I also want to do the layers or some color changes, also details to the hair before I then jump over to the background. And then with the darker background, I will also be then refining the edges of the hands. And you will see that part of it later after I'm done with the initial details in the hands and the hair and the portrait. But I think I will, after the background is finished, I will then revisit also the overall portrait. Where do I want to still add some details, and whether it is then good enough and done and I don't want to mess around with it anymore. Now I'm starting to mix the color for the background. I started with the pan colors, trying to create a strong gray neutral hue, but then I decided that it will take just way too long to get the stronger color that I wanted, so I took tube colors. I also added a granulating color to the side, so I can add that to the mixture every now and then. I was holding off starting the background to the very end because it's the most crucial part at this point. I have to be very careful around the edges and make sure I get clean lines. And I'm very surprised with the plate that I didn't pour that on me or over the painting. It looks a bit scary at times. The mixture had been also sitting around on the plate a while, so it looks quite brownish, but as you see in the painting and when it dries out, it is actually very gray as I wanted it. But maybe I wish that the granulating color would have popped out a bit more, but I didn't want to add much of the pigment to the mixture because it was quite heavy with color already. And at times I also take a bit more water from my water cup, so I'm lightening it a bit. Now I'm slightly wetting some of the hand areas, so I want the background color to start bleeding or blending out a bit towards the hands. Of course, I could have done it also the other way around, so it would be then blending downwards or dropping down. Of course, you have to wait a bit for the paper to absorb most of the color, so it won't be very wet, so that then the layers of colors you add then immediately just drop down. So you want to get it bleeding very slowly towards the re-wetted areas. And I'm redoing that one section a bit because I wasn't that happy with the patchy look that was caused by the smaller brush that I used with quite a dry mixture of the colors. So I'm just pre-wetting and blending these areas and checking the edge areas as well. now I'm adding the same dark color that I used in the background, then also to the darkest darks that I had in the portrait around the face and the hands. Of course, when I mixed the darker gray color after I switched with the tubes, they weren't exactly the exact same colors that I had originally used elsewhere in the portrait, but with the gray color it doesn't really matter that much. And then the final details that I hadn't really done or given any attention yet in more details, the nails. I decided to keep them with white tips and just adding a bit of the pinkish color towards the starting area that is touching the flesh. And then also cleaning up a bit of the edges and then checking the darkest areas here and there again. I think at this point the painting is starting to be more or less ready, so what I then wanted to still do next was to blend some of the areas where I had done some shading, because I had so light layers of color, so I won't be lifting up the color that easily, so I can blend the other layer quite easily. And then I wanted to add still some background details to the lower area and then still do a bit of details, so clean up to the eyes and darker areas and details. But then I think I am done.